maybe you can, if you wouldn't mind, just like saying a few things about yourself and reintroducing yourself now that
Yeah.
we're recording.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Karin Voelker, and I'm a pre-doctoral intern actually at CAPS. So I'm not quite sure if you're all graduate students as well, or if some of you are undergrads, but I'm a graduate student. I'm in my 5th year of a doctoral program at John F. Kennedy University in clinical psychology. And as probably all of you, I am a parent and a student, and I work full time. So I know very much how that can be. And still, everyone is different. So hopefully, I have something to share with you today that will be useful for some of you or all of you. And let me share my screen. Okay, hold on just a second. I have to pull this up. It worked earlier, so just bear with me. Here it is. Okay, so we have a PowerPoint, and yeah, so basically today we're gonna be recording for half an hour. So if you have any questions, please just hold off until we're finished. It's just like you can see here, it's just 14 slides. We'll go over it pretty quickly, and then we have a chance to ask some follow-up questions and have a little bit of a discussion if you're interested. So yeah, let's just get started. Yeah, so our agenda for today is basically parenting during graduate school, or school in general, and a pandemic, which is making things even more difficult for all of us, I think. And I'm also a single mom, and my kids are 7 and 11. So there's a lot of things going on right now with going back to school and managing all of that. It's quite challenging. So I've also experienced some stress. So we're going to talk about some stress symptoms. So like, okay, these are some signs. I'm actually experiencing a lot of stress right now. We're going to talk a little bit about burnout, and then depression. When burnout gets more severe, you may say some depression, also some anxiety maybe. And then really going into what you can do for self-care and stress management, and then some resources. So yeah, being a graduate student and a parent, as you all know, this is probably not your first semester, but definitely not the beginning of the first semester. But there's such an adjustment phase when you're coming back to school as a parent. Every story is different, but guessing that some of you were home for a while and then adjusted back to getting into school. And that phase, like going back to school into a graduate program, can be very challenging. Adjusting to the new challenges, probably feeling very overwhelmed, and then really wearing a lot of hats. That's what I kind of always use to describe how life is for me. So I have my student hat, I have my mother hat, I have my, therapist hat, I have my friend, the daughter, all these different hats, and just taking them off as my role is changing sometimes throughout the day. And then also, depending on the hour, right, within the day and then throughout the week. And one of the advice that I received in my first semester in graduate school is finding your people. So who are the people that support me through this experience of being in graduate school? And so there is like really, I think that was probably one of the most important things, really getting to know some peers at my school that I could relate to and where I felt safe, like talking about what's really affecting me, where I was noticing the friends that I have for a really long time, they don't know how it is to be back in school. I still talk to them regularly, but then I also really needed some friends that I could get support from at school. And yeah, just now more than ever this year, like getting and allowing support. So asking for help, basically, when it's really hard for myself. And I know a lot of us are like this. really asking for help. And right now, the time when you are juggling, really juggling all of this, that's the time when, just ask for help, because it's going to make such a difference. And I know that was especially challenging now last year, because you can't really ask a parent, a grandparent, a friend. They might not feel safe watching your kids. But now that's all changing. Maybe some were feeling comfortable with it, but that created some extra challenge. So just ask for the support that you need. And one of the amazing things is really that you're a great role model for your kids. Like, you're going to school, working on your degree, that's teaching them so much about how important education is to you, to the family, and then just modeling this, that you're sitting there with a book, or writing a paper while you're also present with them sometimes. It's just showing them how important education is, and it's influencing them. I see that with my kids all the time as well. So now, during the pandemic, more than ever, there's so many more roles that we have as parents. And just the obvious ones that I already mentioned when I was going over the different hats that we're all wearing. But now it's also like being the, since school lunches are not available anymore, my little one is still doing everything from home. So being a chef, being an IT person, because sometimes the internet is not working. And then I also have to drive my little one to gymnastics. I have to drive my older one to soccer practice. So like being the chauffeur too, it's just added. It's just more roles than we ever imagined. And at this point, I feel like there's such a thing as good enough parenting. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but right now, good enough looks different than it did, a year and a half ago, where 100% is not possible. And just allowing yourself to notice, like, today I'm feeling like 80%. That's what I can do, and that's enough. There's a shift now in what good enough looks like. And research has shown decades ago that good enough parenting is all we can really strive for, and it's going to create healthy and happy children. Nothing has to be super perfect, like I tried to be when I had one child, and when that child was like up to 2 years old, and I was at home, stay-at-home mom. I was striving for perfection with this child, and then soon I realized, no, this is not possible. So now more than ever, like, you give what you can. And with compartmentalizing and putting on those different hats, going back to that is really difficult right now, because so much happens from home. Those transitions where you kind of switching to your different role, it's all happening sometimes, in the same room, in the same house with all of this. So things are really difficult, and that can create a lot of stress. So just put on your oxygen mask on first. Like, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of your children. So always keep that in mind. Just like in the airplane, you have to, put the oxygen on yourself first, especially when it comes to stress and feeling burned out. So just be self-compassionate for when you have a breakdown, and be compassionate when your kids have a breakdown, because I'm sure you see more of it now than you did in the past, depending again on the circumstances. But things are difficult. Children are not with their friends often anymore. Some went back to school, but just life is complicated, and there might be some breakdowns, some temper tantrums for the little ones, and feeling very emotional, and that's normal, and that's okay, and it's expected. And when you get angry, when you get upset, when you cry, that's okay. It's okay to model that to the kids too, that's okay, because then they can express their emotions as well, and be open with you about, like, this is really hard. This is a hard year. And as most of you probably know, kids need routines. They need to kind of know, okay, I'm expecting this. The little ones, even more than the older ones, they flourish on routines. And right now, that's so hard to have this routine, right? Where like now hybrid school is starting, or like they're going full back to school. And then, one child is sick in the cohort and they all have to go back home. Like one of my friends who's a single mom too, like her children had to go, well, her daughter had to go back home for, I think, a week or 10 days because one of the kids was sick and had COVID in the classroom. So for me, it was like really tough when I adjusted my schedule to knowing, okay, on that date, school is going to go into hybrid. Then 2 days before that was supposed to happen, the school was sending an email, no, we can't make it happen. We entered a different tier. So all that changed again. So you have to stay super flexible. And within that mindset of wanting to be flexible, provide as much routines for yourself and for the kids as possible, just to have some sense of control and feeling more organized wherever that's possible. And I also wanted to address some worries. So of course, we especially last year were really worried, really stressed out, fearful, like about COVID. How do we get sick? What happens when we get sick? Some of us may have lost their job because of COVID. So there's financial strain and stress, then socio-political stress. With the election last year, that was tough. That can have a direct impact on us. I know it would on me. I'm not a citizen. So I was really stressed out and worried. The discrimination that's happening in the country right here in our backyard, the hate crimes we have seen even in San Jose, San Francisco, all around here, and that can create fears, worries, anxiety. So all that, we're facing that right now. And so when all of that comes up, like as much as you can, like reduce the exposure to those images for yourself when you're already feeling stressed out, and for children as well, because the images that you see actually on social media, if it's a video or on TV, that kind of stays in your mind, and it can be very triggering, especially for little kids, where when you're reading something that's still really hard, but the images we kind of carry with us, and that can be more harmful and cause more stress and just feeling really upset. So what are some stress symptoms? So you might be familiar with that, some physical symptoms like feeling really tired, of course. You're probably not getting a lot of sleep with all those different responsibilities and juggling. So feeling tired all the time, lack of energy. Then some people notice in their neck, some people feel in their back. I always get headaches when I'm feeling really stressed and overwhelmed. Some people get migraines. Just getting sick easier might happen too when you're feeling really stressed out. And some of my friends, they have been drinking wine, a glass of wine every night, just to deal with being a mom and being they're like like the ones I'm talking about, they are just they're not in graduate school, but they're working full time and they're being a mom, and that's super stressful. So a lot of increase in substance use. So pay attention to that. Are you noticing that? And just not eating or sleeping enough or too much. Like what's happening? Some people, when they're stressed out, they're eating more and sleeping more, and others they sleep less and they eat less. So really depending on the person. And emotionally, like irritability, instability, just noticing that you're very emotional and crying easily, some short-temperedness and feeling anxious, and just also noticing when you're at the point where you're withdrawing from others, wanting to isolate even more than we already have to, and just feeling restless or bored. So those are some emotional symptoms you may notice. And then mental symptoms are just tired of thinking, not wanting to, do anything, not being motivated, hard time focusing in classes, forgetting things easily, just drifting off, thinking about something else when you're sitting in class, especially now through Zoom. It's so challenging. Like procrastinating, missing deadlines, and just noticing, if maybe your creativity and productivity and curiosity is impacted as well. So those are all some symptoms you might see. And many are throwing around the word burnout right now, of course, right? When you're juggling so much. And there's another hip term right now, it's called languishing, which is not quite burnout, but where you're feeling like blah, meh, like this is all enough and I don't want to do anything anymore. So that's something you could look up as well as a new buzzword, languishing. Or, burnout is just like, here's some signs that, you can't sleep, you might get sick more easily, getting irritable. Cynicism is one of the symptoms too, that's not on here, being forgetful, and just feeling drained. So those are, signs of a mild depression, really. And so if you do notice these symptoms that I put here on the slide, that you're so stressed out and feeling so burned out that you're feeling depressed, and you're reading these symptoms right here. If that's going on for 2 or more weeks, that would be a concern. If this is happening couple times a week, or for a week, that's all still considered normal. But if you're noticing 2 weeks or longer, a longer period of time, just reach out for some help. Talk to a mental health care provider, call us at CAPS, and get some support. Yeah. So self-care, that's the important part right now that we want to talk about. So one of the really important things, I think, is just avoiding the unnecessary stress. And that's, I think that slide is the most important take-home point, like learning to say no. And I had a lot of trouble with that, knowing your limits and sticking to them. Saying, at work, with friends, personally, professionally, all around, like when I'm already feeling stressed out, and if I'm saying yes to this request, if maybe my friend wants to be taken to the airport, or maybe my friend wants me to bring a bottle of wine when I come visit, to sit on her patio, but that would mean I have to go to the grocery store, and then I have to run and rush and then get to her house. So just saying, well, no, I can't do that today. Can I bring something else? Just as an example, just say no sometimes when you're feeling like that's just adding a little bit of extra stress that I can't handle right now. And then also avoiding people who stress you out. So noticing like some friends, maybe friends that talk about themselves all the time and don't hear what you have to say. Maybe that's not the friends you need right now. Maybe you need the friends that check in with you, like how you're doing. They give you some space to talk about what's going on in your life as well. Really focusing on those healthy relationships where there is a give and take, and when you're not feeling so great that day, they will be there for you. So focus on your healthy relationships. Like I have every Monday night, I'm meeting with a couple of my friends over Zoom, and we're supporting each other with everything that's going on in life. And that's just nice because I can look forward to, every Monday at this time, there's going to be this little support group of moms. So then taking control of your environment too, as much as that is possible right now. So like I said before, news, social media, if that's causing you to feel stressed out or anxious, turn off the TV, then even delete some of the social media apps or news apps you may have when you're noticing like, no, I can't deal with this right now. Just delete it. You can go back on social media a month from now whenever you feel like it's not harming me. And yeah, and also to make your life easier. I know we all learn now to do shopping online. It's definitely doable if that's helping you out, and it's possible for you. It's awesome. Go for it. Another really important point is like avoiding, they call it hot button topics. So maybe family members, they want to talk about politics or maybe religion, something where this is something I cannot talk to this person about. Don't engage in those conversations, because those are causing you potentially more stress and harm than they're doing for you right now. Maybe this right now is not the time to talk about this, or creating a change in people's opinions in terms of politics or so. It's a struggle. I know that's, especially last year, that was a big concern. And yeah, avoiding those topics with them, just letting them know, that's something that I don't want to talk about today. And then one of the things I really want to share with you, and wondering if I can do that right now, it's a self-care inventory. And let me see if I can share that with you. I can just share it with you after, which is really nice, because in that inventory, you can take a test, kind of a quiz, to see where self-care is at right now. But then it's also giving you some ideas about physical self-care, psychological, emotional, spiritual, and professional. And when we think self-care, we often think about only the physical, like getting enough sleep, for example, or some of the psychological, like writing a journal. But there's more than that. And so making your self-care all around, like all of the aspects that are important for you, incorporating all of that self-care, I think is really, really helpful and important. So more about stress management. Making connections is so important right now. Create and maintain contact with a small group of people who you can call on for emotional support. And that's exactly like I described with my friends that I'm meeting every Monday night. Some people are doing, game night over Zoom. Maybe now you're feeling comfortable meeting up with friends in their backyard or on a patio, or, outside in a park. And yeah, just hanging out with people again. And if not in person, then over Zoom or FaceTime. Because when you're isolating yourself and not getting any support from someone else, your stress might actually increase. So talking about it with the few people that you really trust and that are supportive. And one of the really fun things that I like to bring up is laughing and playing. And we have those people that love to laugh and play right there, built in our family systems, right? The kids, they love it when you just play with them. My kids ask me all the time, do you have time now? Can we build Lego, or can we go play soccer? So yes, making that time to really go out and play and just be a kid whenever you can and have fun. And there's evidence that shows that smiling and laughing is actually elevating our mood, and it has an impact on your emotions and on your thoughts. So when you can't go outside and play, or when you're feeling too tired to actually play, then maybe watching a comedy, watching something funny, or reading something funny can also be very beneficial. Nurture a positive view of yourself. So if you're catching yourself that you're going down a negative spiral, actively replacing those thoughts with positive ones. And then also what can be really nice is creating self-affirmations. So making a list of some messages you want to send yourself, basically. Just write them down on paper, or in your journal if you have a journal. Just all these great things about you that you want to remind yourself of. And then making a schedule, or some people prefer to do a to-do list. Create a to-do list where you're really staying organized, and you make sense of your life and get a sense of control as well. With having that, you prevent procrastination, which is huge right now, especially when you're juggling so much, and provide a sense of accomplishment. When You know, I have a whiteboard where I have my to-do list with all the priorities, and I just erase it when I'm done. And it's nice to just erase it. It's gone. I don't have to revisit it anymore. And really distinguishing between the things that absolutely have to happen and something where you say, I should be doing this. Maybe right now is not the time that, you know, those shoulds should be addressed. Maybe that can be at the bottom of the list. And then also part of this is taking breaks. When you do create a schedule, that you make sure that there are breaks in your schedule too. Maybe a lunch break, maybe just break to go outside for a walk, maybe a break to get up and get some water so you can start moving around. And then find some activities that soothe and relax you. Some people like meditation. Some people, you know, like yoga. And one of the things that's really helpful when you feel anxious, when anxiety is coming up for you, do some deep breathing. And when you're doing deep breathing, making sure that you're breathing from your belly, so the diaphragmatic breathing, and not from up here, your chest. So what I do is place one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. So I really know that I'm doing deep breathing. And then just breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth, and really exhaling longer than inhaling, really taking some deep breath, especially when you're feeling stressed. Maybe after, you know, an argument that happens right now when everybody's home so much, when you're just feeling really overwhelmed because finals are coming up, doing some deep breathing can make a lot of difference. Do some kind of physical activity when we're feeling, you know, a lot of emotions are coming up. Releasing tension and anxiety by just physically letting it out can be really beneficial. So going for a run, if you want to do something inside, maybe, you know, a YouTube video for a workout. And, you know, there's wonderful HIIT exercises that you just spend 10 or 15 minutes doing that. We all have it. We just always make excuses. I do it all the time. Excuses why I don't need to work out, because I really don't have the time. But I've decided, you know, a few weeks ago, I have to make the time every day. 10 minutes I can spare. And that way, you know, I can release all that tension, get all of the stress out, just really like getting busy, sweating, getting the heart pumping. It's good for your mental health, your physical health, all around. And, you know, ideally 30 minutes, but if you have 10, it's better than 0, right? So then also keeping a journal, writing down your thoughts and your feelings, and notice that any patterns in those things that are coming up when you're journaling. And maybe that's something that you want to discuss with a counselor, or maybe your best friend. If you're noticing like this is something that keeps coming back and I really can't keep this to myself, this would be helpful if I'm talking to someone about it. Ideally, a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist. But, you know, maybe your best friend is also awesome at talking those things through. And paying attention to your mind and body. So nutrition, really making sure you're not skipping any meals, having food available for yourself, and yeah, just making sure you nourish your body so you have the energy to do all the things that you need to do. And nurture your spirit. Getting enough sleep is also super important. Here, so there are some techniques that I put down. So one of the great breathing techniques I really like for clients who have anxiety is 4-7-8 breathing. So when you're feeling really anxious or tend to have panic attacks, or also when you wake up in the middle of the night or really early in the morning and you're not ready to get up, doing some deep breathing. And the 4-7-8 is really relaxing. And, you know, if you're feeling anxious in the morning, waking up too early because you're overwhelmed with the amount of work that you have to accomplish that day, just taking a moment, just a couple of minutes, and do 4 cycles of the 4-7-8 breathing. So you inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, making sure again, that the inhale's coming from your belly. You hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you exhale for 8. And do that 4 times. And then check in with yourself, like, is my heart still racing? Am I feeling better? Am I feeling more relaxed? If not, doing it again, a second time of 4 cycles of it. And that's the most that you should do, unless you have been doing it for a few months. But this is actually supposed to also bring down your resting heart rate if you struggle with, stress, anxiety. It's good for your overall health. Then there is the 5 senses grounding. Just whenever you feel really stressed out, just bringing yourself back to the here and now when your mind is going all these different directions. So just, when you're at your desk, you're feeling like you're overthinking, you're ruminating about all these things. Just notice like 5 things that you can see in the room and name them. Name them in your head to yourself or even out loud, saying like pink bottle, white headphones, golden mirror, pink blanket, blue shoes. And then continue with 4 things you feel. Maybe there's something you feel on your body, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. It's like taking a mini nap almost. It's being in the moment, being present, being very mindful. Another thing is mindful eating. That's what I do during lunch. I'm just like present with my food, taking 10 minutes to have lunch, just noticing how, again, with the 5 senses, how it smells, how it tastes. Being mindful is really, really easy with food. So just taking a break that way and just focusing on, what you have on your plate and enjoying that, making a mindfulness experience out of it. Mindfulness walks are also awesome. Get us out of the house. Kids and teenagers really like mindfulness walks too. I did a mindfulness walk with a teenage client a couple years ago, and he loved it. He's like, I cannot believe I never did this before. Like, this is so awesome. I've never noticed, how the wind feels on my skin, not just going from A to B rushing, but really, again, with all your senses, like looking around, what do I see without any judgment, just noticing what's there, the smells too, all everything, just be mindful and just, go around 1 time around the block when you're feeling really stressed out. Take that time to do a mindfulness walk. And then maybe with kids too, talk about gratitude. So maybe at the end of the day, just mentioning 3 things that you appreciate or that were good that day. 3 things to kind of go to bed knowing it wasn't all awful and hectic and stressful, but there are probably 3 things in the day that actually were good. And when that's the last thing you think about, you kind of feel better about, the day, about, yourself, the kids, the family. So it's a great thing to do. Even with very small kids, a 2 or 3-year-old can already kind of start doing this. Yeah, and then like I said, meditation too. If you have trouble falling asleep because things are really stressful, there's lots of apps, meditation apps. YouTube has some great meditation. I especially like body scan meditations because I'm noticing my mind is not drifting off as much. So maybe look up on YouTube body scan if that's something you also like. There's guided imageries too. Some people really like those. But yeah, meditation can also be very helpful for falling asleep and just being in the moment. Here's some other resources on campus that might be helpful. Again, kind of going along with asking for the help you may need. Maybe you're thinking about applying for internship or for a job already. Getting some help with your resume or your CV. Just checking out how they can assist you, how they can help you, so you don't feel so alone with that task that's also possibly at the horizon for you. The Mosaic Cross-Cultural Center is really helpful as well. Student Health Center, anything health related. You know, there's even a dietitian and a physical therapist at the Student Health Center, and not just doctors and nurses. So if there are any health concerns, check out the website and see how they can support you. And then student involvement, I know we don't have a lot of time as students and parents, but maybe there is a group, a student organization that you would love to join, and it would bring you lots of joy and explore some topics that you're really into. Yeah, and then last but not least, there's CAPS. So if you're noticing, I'm feeling really burned out, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling anxious, you know, schedule an appointment with us. So you have someone who is, you know, available for you. We have 8 sessions you have available in the academic year they can utilize. And we do have personal counseling. Then we have educational counseling as well for more academic concerns. And couples counseling is for if both parties in the couple are students, we have couples counseling. Otherwise, we can't provide it at this time. Then we have some outreach and consultation. We have groups and workshops that can be really, really helpful. Case management too, if you're getting some support, finding mental health care providers in the community. And yeah, so we're located in the Student Wellness Center. Some of you have never been on campus. I've been on campus only twice this year. But yeah, that's on the 3rd floor is where CAPS is. There's a phone number for you and the website, so you can make an appointment. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that I do share the self-care inventory. So let me see how I can do that.
And Karin, while you're doing that, I'm going to mention 2 things. One, to everyone, if you didn't see it, I put a link to the article about languishing. It was an article in the New York Times into the chat. And second, I just want to point out there is an actual group at CAPS just for parents, students who are parents. And does it meet? It probably doesn't meet during the summer. So
it does not. Yeah, it's not meeting anymore at this point. But again, in the fall, I'm hoping. So if there is the need, we will definitely start it again. Yeah, so maybe I stop sharing at this point, and then we can also stop the recording.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.